All right, World War II and the Japanese-Canadian internment. That definitely would have had an impact on how Japanese Canadians perceive themselves as being Canadian. My grade 12 history needed some freshening up, so Roy explained to me how Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, led to the internment. With Japan declaring war on North America during World War II, 22,000 men, women, and children of Japanese ancestry living within 100 miles of Canada's west coast all of a sudden became enemy aliens in their own country. Even though 3/4 of these Japanese were naturalized or Canadian-born citizens, the government of Canada defined them as dangerous to the country because of their racial origins. In March 1942, Japanese Canadians living on the coast had their homes and businesses confiscated and sold to pay for their own internment. After being imprisoned in the livestock pens at Vancouver's Hastings Park, they were forced to move to internment camps set up in small towns in BC's interior, or sent east of the Rockies to work on sugar beet farms, which is what happened to Roy. Those that opposed were taken from their families and detained in prisoner of war camps in Ontario. After the US dropped atomic bombs in the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, ending the war in 1945, the Canadian government told all interned Japanese Canadians they had to move out of British Columbia or go to Japan. 4,000 of them, half of them actually Canadian-born, were exiled to Japan, while the rest moved to Eastern Canada because they had no homes to go back to on the coast. It wasn't until 1949, 4 years after the war ended, that Japanese Canadians were allowed to return to Vancouver. Roy was only 10 years old when his family was forced from their home to pick sugar beets in Manitoba.
And when we were on that train, going from Mission through the Rocky Mountains, and you could tell that the fellas are crying, all adult men. A lot of them are crying, because we come out of a tunnel, and there was steam engine operated trains, and the smoke would run right through the train, and especially the ones that the Japanese Canadians were on. And we could have put on a minstrel's show because the coal dust was on our face, but you could see the tear lines. And I laughed. And when a stranger comes and boxes you across the ear because you're laughing at a time of sadness. And so I recall and remember a lot of things from that time in the 40s.